Hi, my name is Linus. I'm a upcoming sophomore at the University of Michigan studying CS, and this is my most recent project called Kaisa. Essentially, Kaisa is a voice calling agent that can help you with various phone over the phone tasks such as calling in reservations, scheduling appointments. Possibilities are endless. So let's get into the demo. All right, for Kaisa, typically users would input a query such as call a nearby Vietnamese restaurant and see if they have availability for like a table of five today. Just for simplicity, I've already put in the prompt here, and I'm just going to run it locally from my computer. And essentially, the prompt here is to call a local Italian restaurant called Bella's Italian Bistro and make a dinner reservation for four people tomorrow at 7:30. And just for this demonstration, I'm going to be routing the call to me, so I'll be acting as the restaurant in this case. So here we go. As you can see, it rings the phone here, and it'll start with a greeting message.
Linus Wang. I'd like to make a dinner reservation for four people tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Can you help me with this?
Yeah, sounds good. This is Bella's.
Wonderful. I'd like to book a table for four people tomorrow, July 29th at 7:30 p.m. Is that available?
Yes, that time is available, and I could get you guys a reservation.
Perfect. The reservation is for Linus Wang, party of four, tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Could I get a confirmation number?
There's no need for a confirmation number.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Linus Wang, party of four, tomorrow, July 29th at 7:30 p.m. We appreciate your help. Have a great day.
As you can see, it manages the call state all by itself and can hang up automatically when it detects the conversation or the objectives it needs to be completed are complete. All right, now I'm going to show you a little bit of the back end, the flow of this project, and essentially how it works. Um, so we're going to start with the planner module here, which is essentially going to take the user input and it's going to try and figure out a plan for the call. So it's essentially going to take things like the intent, what it thinks the user wants it to do. It's going to map out like a conversational script, and it's going to create like search criteria for the next part. And so I'll show you that here. So you can tell the agent to do something. You could say search nearby Italian restaurants and check availability for tomorrow. And it'll just think for a second here. And essentially, it's a little bit hard to read here. I haven't really designed a UI, but it'll essentially map out like objectives it needs to complete. So pre-call, it'll need to like introduce itself. It'll compile the information that it needs to get. And then it'll essentially return a JSON object here for the model to use later, which holds things like the intent, like I said, the call type, the businesses to contact. This is important here because it has the search criteria. This is what will be passed later to the API, the Google Maps API, to figure out the relevant restaurants it needs to pull up, the contacts. And then it just has things like information to extract here, like the questions it needs to be asking, and an overall conversation script here. Um, Next is the contact manager here. And so this actually finds the numbers of the companies that it wants to call. Earlier in the demonstration, I just routed to my phone number, but in practice, this could be used to call businesses or even like just personal phone numbers. Yeah. So I actually designed a lot of tests for this one. But essentially it's going to start here. So you can see like the user input says like call Target and check if they have AirPods in stock. And that's basically, you can see here it has like intent, the call type, the business type, search criteria, and then it pulls up the relevant contact here. And this is the target that's closest to me here. It has like the address, the phone number, and everything. The second one, this is a bit more of a generic example, but it says like, or this is more of a specific example, sorry. And it says like call Thai Spice, which is the specific name of the restaurant. And you can see here it says like business type, specific business. And so it searches by that business name. And you can see here, this is like one of my favorite Thai restaurants, but it pulls up this contact information here. And so, yeah, I'll just end that there. And then lastly, I'll just sort of show how the orchestrator, which brings all of this sort of together. So you can tell it to do something, I'll say just the same same thing, I guess. Call local Italian restaurants and see availability. And basically, this is going to be a little bit hard to read, but this is what is actually passed on later. And so I'll start from the top here. Um, just has like the status, the plan, overall stuff. This is the mostly the JSON object here, the script. Um, and then it has the contacts it should be calling here. Here the default amount is three, so it'll call three Italian restaurants, which includes all their contact information there. And then it essentially compiles a checklist here, which tells it what it needs to complete during the call, which is the task here. And yeah, that's basically it for the backend. For the services here, I used Gemini to actually do like the calculation, like figuring out what response it needs to say next. Essentially, you pass on this JSON, like the script, and you provide the relevant context to the conversation. Um, and then Gemini will automatically formulate a response there. Um, and then I used Twilio for like the phone. I used 11 Labs to produce like realistic voice audio. I used DeepGram to do speech to text, and then yeah, 11 Labs is the text back to speech, and so that's essentially the entire pipeline. There is the user puts in the input, creates a formatted JSON, it passes it to Gemini, and then Gemini speaks it back out through 11 Labs in a nice voice there. And then whatever users say on the other side of the phone, for example, that's translated back in, and Gemini is able to interpret that and then produce a response back. Yeah, so that basically summarizes my first draft with Kaisa. As you can see, it has a lot of rough patches, places it needs to improve. So some improvements I'm looking to implement are adding like better contact management. So like being able to store relevant contacts for the user, obviously designing a UI interface, and essentially just trying to reduce the latency to make the calls sound a little more natural and produce more accurate responses. But yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking through this long video.